trendsresearch.com, our good friend, and, of course, publisher of the Trends Journal, joins us. Well, Gerald, Obama said that there's no problems. You have the best economy in the world. People are fearmongers that say there's any problem in our economy or others. But his own master, Soros, says the collapse has begun. But as usual, the Royal Bank of Scotland, Soros, are saying it days before it begins, not years before it begins, as you and others have. They're still writing articles, as you know, every week saying Gerald Celente is a kook, a porn dealer of fear. So's Alex Jones, because nothing bad has happened. No, just everything you said has happened. Thank God a little bit later than you thought. But, I mean, I wish it would never happen. So do you, but we're just covering fundamentals here. Gerald Celente.
Alex, I think Obama's quote is, I have it right here, anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction. This is from the greatest fraud that has ever been put in the White House. Everything that Backtrack Obama promised, he backtracked on. And he's talking about peddling fiction. I mean, this guy should be a fiction writer, because nothing he ever says, and when you listen to that State of the Union address, it was nothing more than a litany of lies and a string of banalities. So this is a guy, hey, folks, first day in office, I'm going to close Guantanamo. Folks, hey, folks, I'm going to pull out those troops out of Afghanistan. That's after I put in 33,000 for a troop surge and lied, and I'm going to pull them out and never did. Peddling fiction? Hey, how about this one? Folks, I'm going to restore democratic rights. Yeah. Hey, look what he did to Chelsea Manning, huh? How about that Snowden? One after another, they put more whistleblowers in jail and shut them up than any time in American history. This guy's talking about peddling fiction. How about peddling fiction as he's bragging about, and I have it, of course, right here, his line. I told you earlier, all the talk of America's economic decline is political hot air. Yeah, and he knows about hot air, and the rest of them passing it out over there in Washington. They're real hot air.
And don't forget Gibbs saying there is no drone program when it was a known public program for 5 years before that.
So let's look at the facts. As he's bragging about the jobs that have been created, folks, yeah, how about the highest level of job non-participation rate since the 70s? How about all those people now you have home buying rate back into the 1960s? How about the 3 million, quote, missing workers? How about
half the new jobs going to foreigners that are illegal?
That's another one. And how? Because, of course, what they did is they made it easy for them to get here so they could drive down the prices by flooding the marketplace with cheap labor. And again, let's just keep going on to the facts, folks, because that's what he did. He folked us in a lot of ways. And how about the one, for example, that since the Great Recession, 95% of all the wealth gain has gone to that 1%. And how about, as candidate Obama, he was going to promise that we're going to get those people who committed those crimes on Wall Street, and he brought in Eric Holder. Yeah, I got something for him to hold. How many people did he prosecute and put in jail? Hey, they're too big to jail. Where did he go back to? Oh, yeah, that law firm that protects the white shoe boys. That put one, and of course, they convicted, not charged, convicted 6 major banks with felonies for rigging the LIBOR rates, the interest rates, the Forex markets, the currency markets at the tune of $5.3 trillion a day. Not one head rolled. This was a disgusting spectacle, but only really another chapter in the presidential reality show.
Well, that's my question for you as you continue to go through all this, Gerald Celente of the Trends Journal. How far can it go? They've lost the confidence of the people. They're a laughingstock worldwide. Everything they say is a fraud or twisted or an outright lie. How much further can it go? Because their tactic of just bald-faced lying isn't working anymore. I mean, are they totally delusional?
Yes, sociopaths don't admit when they lie. Psychopaths, I mean, you want to talk about it. Listen, I want to read something, Alex, to answer your question, to put it into context, and so many other things that you're talking about, for instance, like gun control. I want to read to you when you said, are they delusional? This is Obama's statement the other night. Quote, "The United States is the most powerful nation on earth, period, period. It's not even close, it's not even close, it's not even close. We spend more on military than the next 8 nations combined." Now, could you imagine if that came out of the other war criminal's mouth, George W. Bush? All those Woodstock, quiche-eating, balsamic grin, politically correct Woodstock liberals would be screaming.
But because it's Obama, it's A-OK, just like the NDAA, the droning, the torture, and then the funding of Al-Qaeda. Boy, that's all coming out. I want to talk election 2016 with Gerald straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones with NoWorldOrder.com. Show. We're going to have some very interesting breaking news on Al-Qaeda in America today. Well, he's told me he'll talk about it. He's told me he'll come on, but I'm not going to say it until it actually happens. And it's important enough that I was going to have Rob Dew host the fourth hour today, our news director. We're going to rebroadcast the first hour today in that fourth hour because I need him to help me get this taping done ahead of the live coverage for 4 hours tonight or so of the debates that are coming up. So big breaking news at Infowars.com and a lot more. One of my good friends, Gerald Celente, who's been very accurate predicting trends for more than 30 years, best-selling author, joins us, trendsresearch.com. This is a short segment, long segment coming up. I want to go through a lot of news with him. Also, take a few calls for your questions for Gerald Celente at 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Gerald, you can get into other trends and things and other news in the next segment, but in the short one, I know you're a political atheist, but you've worked for politicians, you were a consultant and things like that. But, I mean, I guess in your previous life, but in your gut and looking at it politically, who do you really like in the race? Do you think Trump's for real? What do you think is going to come up in the future? They look like they're getting ready to maybe dump Hillary, bring in Biden. The whole establishment's turning on her, or is that all just show? What's the inside baseball from up there in New York?
Well, we made the forecast in the spring edition of the Trends Journal, and that came out, again, you know, this is April 2015, and you could see the cover. Cowards, liars, freaks, and fools. It's the presidential reality show. And here's our forecast, and we stick with it. I won't vote for any of them. But the last person I would have voted for was Ron Paul. I don't vote for lesser of two evils, don't do business with them, have no relationships with them, don't invite them over. Anybody that would vote for lesser of two evils, to me, they're out of their minds.
Sure. So you think Trump is bad news, or what's your view on him?
Well, my view on him is that what I'm happy about is that he's shown what a freak show this thing really is. And again, we called it the presidential reality show before he got into it, and he's a reality show champion. He knows, it's one of these guys, as we used to say in the Bronx, born on third and thought he hit a triple. You know, his old man left him a lot of dough and a lot of real estate, and he has this attitude, but he puts out a lot of things without having substance behind it. So he makes statements without substantive elements to bring it forward. So I think that let me read you our forecast and why we're going to hold to it. You asked me, who's going to win? Will it be Hillary? This is April of last year. If the election were held today, we forecast Clinton as the winner. On issues of gay rights, women's rights, and abortion, Cruz, Paul, Rubio, Carson, Fiorina, and Huckabee will find weak support among the sizable portion of the women voters. We go on to explain the whys. And again, this isn't our position. This is what we're looking at. We go on to say that in the 2008 presidential election, 70.4 million women cast ballots versus 60.7 million men. In the 2012 race, Obama won the two-party vote among female voters by 12 points, 56% to 44%. What we're saying, Alex, is that Trump is going to not get the women vote. And we think Trump is the odds-on favorite of winning the Republican nomination. And we don't see Bernie Sanders overtaking Clinton. And if the election were held, when it gets down to the bottom, you see them playing the gender card every day.
Well, I agree. I told people a year ago that I thought Hillary had it because of the whole gimmick of a woman and her playing that. But if all the Clinton rapes come out and all that comes out and Trump's a wild card, he could pull, like Toto, the curtain back. Whether he's good, bad, or indifferent, this Trump moment is giving people an uprising point. They thought it'd be Bush-Hillary as a ringer, and couldn't he be the ace in the hole that basically undoes the whole thing? That's what I'm getting at. Is he a Toto?
Yes, he could. And it goes back, when I was going to answer your other question, I was putting other information on top of it before I answered it. When you said to the American people, have they reached the point? Yes, they have.
Oh, okay. Stay there then. Wow. Okay, so come flesh that out. I want to get your expert take on this straight ahead, going back to what you said over a year ago, now where you think it's going now, straight ahead, and then more on the economy, more trends you're looking at, phone calls. We got loaded phones for Gerald Celente. Check out his website, trendsresearch.com. I'm Alex Jones, folks, and Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com are the tip of the spear. The enemy hates them. They don't want those links out there. Help us get them out. Gerald, the break cut into you. You said, look, over a year ago, we predicted Hillary because of demographics. But if the people awaken, and you said that in there, something could happen, a Toto moment. Please elaborate.
Yes, and before I do, I just want to mention, that all the great things that you're doing, the great information you're putting out there, and the products that you're offering, and that people really need to start putting their money where their mind is, and to support Alex Jones, the Trends Journal, and others that are taking a stand when everyone else is afraid. So everyone listening, please take advantage of these great products and wonderful opportunities.
Thank you, Gerald.
Because if you don't, look what's going on. You're talking about the debates tonight. Who's hosting them? It's not a democracy anymore. We have 6 corporations that control 90% of the media. The corporations are running the debates and making the rules. And you see the money they're making off them, as reported in the New York Times, when you saw the CNBC debate, for example, and it's not a debate, these are presidential reality shows. They're getting $250,000 for a 30-second commercial. So when the people hear you saying what you're saying and what you're putting out, and more people going to you and more people watching us, let's support what we're doing over here.
Well, Gerald, I don't know your inside baseball, but I know the problem of audiences get bigger, costs get bigger, but then because of the economy, less people buy stuff. It's a rock and a hard place. People need to get your magazine. They need to give it to others. They need to support your sponsors as well at trendsresearch.com. That's what we do here. That's why we had James O'Keefe on to support him. That's why Drudge supports us. We're all trying to build some type of resistance against this takeover.
Yes, and the products that you're making available are first-rate products. This is one of our great trends. I coined the term, by the way, clean food. New York Times did a big story about it back in the early 90s.
I just used your term earlier, and right when I said it, I realized you coined that term.
And what I'm saying is you're providing that. You're on the cutting edge of whole health healing. So it's not like, you're selling soda pop, So anyway, everybody do what you need to do. Stop wasting money on junk and put it where your mind is. One point I want to make before I go on, we cut into the break on the first one. I was talking about Obama's militaristic State of the Union address, where he bragged that the United States has had over 10,000 airstrikes. 10,000. You know how many innocent people were killed? And then this is the guy that, and again, I'm not making this up, on Terror Tuesday, quote, when he talks about who he's going to assassinate with drones, I'm really good at killing people. This is the man that the United States has dropped over 24,000 bombs last year, according to a recent report. And he gets a tear in his eye when he thinks about the dead kids in Sandy Hook. How many people has he murdered with drones? And how many innocent people? How many people that have never been convicted of anything but suspected by whom that have been slaughtered by the murderer in chief? And he's talking about gun control.
It's amazing, Gerald. You know, so much is happening. I want to invite you back sooner, obviously, because there's so much happening. Number one. Number two, I looked at my sheet wrong. Dave Agema on the RNC board, moving with an impeachment of Obama, trying to get that moving, was not at the start of the next hour. He's in like 5 minutes. I've got all these loaded phones for you. And then I've got Bongino on. I rarely make a snafu here on air, but I really want to flesh all this out with you and pick your brain. Can you come back in the next few days or come back next week?
Alex, anytime. I'm always there for you.
Well, you're awesome. We've only got a few minutes left here, so let's jam in some calls for Gerald Celente. I apologize for getting
that's all right.
It's my fault. They have it right here in front of me. I just read it wrong. I do that sometimes when I get too excited. I get really excited talking about this stuff. Bill in New York, you're on the air with Gerald Celente. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Bill, first time, long time. What I wanted to ask, and I think it's kind of where the tire meets the road, is what can we do to ensure that only eligible voters vote? I mean, you know, I go to vote, I fill out my ballot in a cardboard box, and I put it into something that looks like a paper shredder, and a light comes on. You know, I mean, it's just, I don't. How can I say it? What can we do to ensure the integrity of what's going on?
Well, this has been going on for all my life. You know, it's run by criminal operations. People like to call them the Democrats and Republicans. I call them the Bloods and the Crips. What do you expect? Every one of them are murderers and thieves. They steal our money in the names of too big to fail bailouts, loan guarantees, and special breaks. And they murder people in the names of freedom and democracy and humanitarian missions. Of course you're going to get corrupt balloting. The whole system is corrupt. That's just one of the small parts of it, so they keep the murderers in chief and other psychopaths in place. Look, if this was the Soviet Union still in place, you have a re-election rate that rivaled them at the height of the Soviet Union. That's how many incumbents get reelected in this country.
Incredible. Good question, Bill. Steve, Tim, others. When Gerald comes back on, I promise you'll go to the head of the line. If you can hold, and I can go to you next hour if you want. We've got this RNC individual coming on with a whole move to impeach. I get, every time I have Ron Paul on, I say, should we impeach Obama? He goes, well, we should have impeached George W. Bush, too. Well, I tried to do that, you know, for the Iraq war and stuff. But with Obama, it's you got to admit, it's even crazier. It's more naked. Even liberals like, you know, constitutional lawyers like Turley come out and say that. I mean, don't we have to start punishing them, or we just green light more craziness, Gerald?
Exactly. That's what we have to do. You know, I had dinner, by the way. Judge Andrew Napolitano came up here to Colonial Kingston to visit me. We went out to dinner. We were talking very highly of you. You came into the conversation. And he was talking about, you know, how Bush should be prosecuted for the war crimes. And so should Obama. They're violating, what did he say? That Congress should vote for more power to kill people over there in ISIS land? These are illegal wars. They're illegal wars. They're against the Constitution. And by the way, as he's pumping war, not a peep about peace. Nothing. No one's talking about it.
You're absolutely right. When you come back tomorrow, the next day, or whenever you're able to, what are some of the other trends you're going to get into, Gerald?
Well, it's very important what's going on with the economy. You know, we said it was going to crash. And, you know, the other reasons why I was wrong before, I had no idea they were going to keep 0% interest rates. I had no idea of quantitative easing. I had no idea about any of these scams that they were pulling. That just like I had no idea that they would destroy the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. So what we're saying is you better prepare, prevail, and survive for the tough times ahead.
And you've harped on this. When the economy goes down, they go to war. And like clockwork, they're lining up for war all over with the Russians, the Chinese, the Arabs funding revolutions, our government backing the bad guys. I mean, I've seldom, studying history, seen bad guys as bad as the people running our government. It's just crazy.
It is crazy. And I mean, you know, as I'm looking at that guy, Ryan, sitting up there behind Obama at the State of the Union, it reminded me of that kid on the Munsters, the Addams Family, you know? I couldn't believe it. You got a bunch. This is what Trump is right about. You have stupid and incompetent people running the government. We need a third way. If you put in another head of the Bloods of the Crips, that's not going to change the criminality of the system. If they could do it in Spain, if they could do it in Italy, we could do it in the United States. It's time for a real third-party movement.
Well, I remember about 4 years ago, you said, watch, Catalonia is going to end up seceding, and then that'll spread over in Spain. They've now done that, and they're not doing it with guns. They're doing it by votes, and so the central government really can't say no, even though they're trying to, because they're not giving them a fight. And that's why so many times different governments will go create a resistance movement like the IRA. It came out that was run by British intelligence to make them violent, to give them the political low ground to then be able to keep Ireland enslaved. And my biggest job, I think, is to keep people nonviolent, even if the government has some provocative things to patriots or others. I mean, they could kill me to try to start some revolution. I've heard that's been talked about, or Louis Farrakhan or somebody on the other side of the spectrum. And I'm telling folks, don't go crazy if something like that happens, because that's what they want. We're winning overall the info war, I think, intellectually. Do you agree with that, Gerald?
Oh, absolutely. Morality is the way, not military. And that's why we launched Occupy Peace. Look, I'm a fighter. I'm a close combat practitioner. I'll blow anybody's brains out or kill anybody that tries to kill me. I want peace. We will not have a violent revolution. It will only turn things. You just look around the world and you can see what's happening. But we could do it at the ballot box, but we need a new third, fourth, or even fifth party. We have to break up the monopoly, the duopoly, the corporate takeover. It's fascism. It's the merger of state and corporate powers. Right. I don't want to live under a fascist dictator.
Gerald Celente, TrendsResearch.com, Trends Journal. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you very soon, my friend. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.